What is the worst thing you've ever seen or heard in a game of Truth or Dare? This is a long story, but I promise the payoff is there. First college party. Commence after party Truth or Dare with about 8 people. 3 a.m. rolls around, we're down to 6 people, but things start getting a little raunchy. A kiss here, a flash there, take off an article of clothing, all in good fun. 3:30 rolls around. Damn, I still remember the time. This really cute girl who I was crushing on since high school asked me, and I answered truth, because by this time I was already down in my boxers and I didn't feel like sitting there with my dong out. Anyway, she asks me some stupid question, I forget exactly what it was, along the lines of what's the craziest place you've banged. I was a virgin at the time, so my answer naturally was a lie. However, it was a boring one. I said the living room at my parents' house. Everyone started booing me, saying the answer was not worth a turn, and told the girl to go again. I got really embarrassed because not only was it a giant lie, but a giant lie that was somehow still too prude. For some reason, let's call it alcohol and weed, I agreed to go again. Inside, I was having a panic attack and wanted to cry. Yes, men have feelings too. So to avoid a repeat of an intimate question, I went with the dare. Screw it, I thought. I'm decently hung, so I'd rather have my dong out than people find out that I've never put my dong in. I was 18. In my defense, losing your virginity was everything back then. So, she dares me to go down on her. This is literally every dude's wet dream. The girl you want more than anything but thought you couldn't have just asks you to go at it. So I obliged whole frickin' heartedly. And it's all downhill from here, folks. First of all, as soon as it sunk in what she asked, I got a massive hard-on. I was wearing those peekaboo boxers, so guess who showed his face without me noticing? And secondly, guess whose face began drooling? So yeah, prenut is a real thing and I learned that night. So here I am sitting across from the hottest girl ever who just asked me to go down on her, with my dong oozing, throbbing, and leaking all over my boxers, surrounded by 3 other girls and another guy as well, and some random party stragglers just watching the game unfold. It gets pretty bad. I notice what's going on, but I don't think much of it because she already has her panties off, so all she does is hike up her skirt and goes spread eagle. Holy crap. I had never done this before. The most I've done with a girl was kiss at this point. I should preface this by saying that I get gassy when I'm nervous. Some of you may know where this is going, but I guarantee you frickin' don't. So now she's spread on the floor and I need to make a move. So I do what any girl-loving guy would do in the most awkward way possible. I shifted onto all fours and crawled towards her like a frickin' tiger or something. I put my face deep in the snatch, but my hands aren't touching her or anything. Instead, I'm still on all fours like a puppy sniffing her. After a few seconds, the position gets horribly uncomfortable, and I shift my weight in such a way that my butt is now sticking up and my knees underneath my body. What happens next is the single worst 30 seconds of my life, followed by years of shame. She begins moaning and tells me to take off my boxers. I quickly oblige, but I can only get them half off in this position without stopping what I'm doing. So, basically, I'm now mooning 3 chicks and a dude that are sitting behind me, my hairy butt perfectly on display about 2 feet from their faces. The chick I'm working on starts moaning more and more and saying she's about to finish. Anxiety gets the better of me. I get super nervous. Did I mention I get gassy when I'm nervous? Did I mention that alcohol also gives me horrible indigestion? The more things heat up, the more I am now focusing on what is going to be the biggest fart of my life. She climaxes. I can feel it from her kitty and other muscles tensing up. I get so excited but simultaneously relieved that I can stop and excuse myself to go to the bathroom and let one out. Except I got relieved a little too soon. Now, the fart was explosive, but the real problem was that I hadn't crapped that day. The real problem was that while this girl was climaxing, I was taking a projectile crap on 4 people behind me. The smell. Oh God, the smell. I didn't want to turn around, but I had to before the girl was even done with her climax. They were coded. One of the girls got it worse than everyone else. The dude got it bad too, and they all got it in their hair, their mouth. Oh God. She screamed, I screamed, the dude began hitting me, covering me my own crap that was falling off his face and neck, except several seconds after he started hitting me, he began vomiting. His hands slip on it and he collapses on top of me. So, if you will, 2 naked dudes on top of each other, coated in nut, vomit, and explosive crap, surrounded by hot chicks, most of whom are also covered in crap. Well, that first one was definitely, an exciting start, to say the least. I guess this should be your warning if this kind of stuff upsets you, or, I don't know, you're just not into it. You can leave now. That's fair. I can't say I'm super thrilled about this one either. I hope they get less gross. Story 2. When I was 15, a girl I was trying to date invited my friend and me over to a house where she was babysitting. When we arrived, she was there with 4 of her girlfriends, including her one extremely promiscuous and rumored STI-wielding friend. After drinking everything in the house she thought the parents wouldn't miss, we played truth or dare. Eventually, the girl I liked dared me to go bang in the master bedroom with the promiscuous one. I passed and took truth, but my friend took the dare and went off with her. They came back out about 5 minutes later. No one believed they did anything. 9 months after that, everyone believed them. Story 3. My friends and I loved this game in high school. One day I came up with the best dare. You had to be blindfolded and someone would kiss you and you would have to guess who it was. Well, eventually everyone just wanted to play that game. So we did for a few rounds. There were like 8 or 9 of us, so one person would be blindfolded and everyone would vote on who had to kiss them. It was always a good mix of genders, guy, girl, girl. Well, it got boring eventually because everyone was just doing light pecks on the lips. So we invented round 2. Round 2, you had to kiss them for 3 seconds and actually move your lips a little bit like a real kiss. Round 3, you had to make out with them for 5 to 7 seconds. Round 4, you had to use your hands and touch their face and shoulders. On particularly wild nights, we would get to round 5, where you would have to actually straddle the person and make out furiously with them for 10 seconds. It was a great game though, and to be honest, it taught me how to make out properly because at the end, we rated everyone's kissing. This is what I'm saying, you gotta practice kissing with the homies. How else are you gonna get good at it? Just saying. Story 4. I got dared to use a zipline that nobody had likely touched in decades. So we climbed up a mountain while wasted in the middle of the night, found that my friend was not BSing and that it actually did exist, used our zip on it, and sailed over a 1,500-foot drop. And then the thought occurred to me that I had no way of getting back, and I had not even brought a flashlight with me. And I had absolutely no knowledge of the part of the mountain I was on. So I basically stood in place for 7 hours or so. I don't know if that was the worst, but it was definitely the most stupid. Especially considering that the whole point of the game was to get with some girls who were no longer in a partying mood after I disappeared into the night. Story 5. At age 18, while at a friend's house digging around looking for a lighter, he finds an adult toy in his single dad's room. It was one of those hot pink, sparkly fake dongs with the rabbit thing on it. Something that really didn't seem like a guy toy. And it was in the spare nightstand, so we assumed that maybe he had an old girlfriend's or something. Fast forward a few weeks later, his dad is out of town. There are a few of us over playing Truth or Dare, and I dare him to do something to his dad's fake dong. At first, his face turned 10 shades of red, embarrassed in front of everyone else, but then he manned up, grabbed a Ziploc bag worn like a glove, and then rubbed some cut, open habanero peppers all over it. This was a Friday night, and his dad was supposed to be back Saturday. Saturday night rolls around, and he, our other friend, and myself are all drinking at his house. Quietly, as the one sneaking in and I had been drinking. This was roughly 8 p.m.-ish. As the other friend and I stood in the driveway, we hear the most god-awful, blood-curdling scream. The type of scream that sounds like someone being murdered. We dash in just in time to meet our friend in the hallway as he flies into his dad's room. His mom, dad's ex-wife, is on the floor butt naked, curled up in a ball, screaming her head off. Apparently his mom and dad had been screwing around behind the family's back. A hospital trip followed, and after spending the night in the ER not knowing what the hell happened, they ended up coming out in the open, getting back together, and then remarried. That was 12 years ago, and they're still together. For their wedding present, I gave them a jar of habaneros, and they still don't understand to this day. That wedding present has to be the best thing I have ever heard. Also, I'm sorry I'm pronouncing habanero the try-hard way. I'm used to trying to get pronunciations correctly for other stuff that I've narrated, so sorry. If I get it wrong, I'm sure someone will tell me and then I'll know. Story 6. When I was 17, I worked as a summer camp counselor. The week of our orientation, before the campers arrived, all of the counselors were down by the lake when we started the game of Truth or Dare. Everybody was pretty normal except for this quiet girl who was a Disney freak. Everything Disney. Pajamas, sleeping bags, hair ties, t-shirts, all Disney, all the time. Being 17 years old up in the woods, our truth and dares all turned frisky pretty fast. After finishing my dare, I turned to her and asked, truth or dare? Truth. Okay. Have you ever banged? I asked. Yes, but only with one person. My father. It started when I was 12. Yeah, game over. Well, that's the most tragic thing I've ever heard. Wow. I'm so sorry. Story 7. Let me tell you how my old friend Dip got his name. Dip was the one Asian kid in our loosely associated group of metalheads and excitable fools that routinely hung out in this stretch of woodland by our houses. We'd heard rumors that Dip had a strange dong. We set up a game of Dare or Screw Off, where we would goad Dip, then called Cliff, into showing us this legendary thing of his through alcohol and peer pressure. It was totally not gay. In fact, the plan was driven forward by this one girl in our group who had a thing for Cliff. She was a kind of petite little punky chick, we'll call her Claire, not real name, who was all set to sample some Eastern delights. For the rest of us, it was an anthropological exercise. It was for science. So we got liquored up at the mouth of this little dry cave we used as a general stash and a private area for romantic times. 2 bottles of vodka were had between 17s, including Dip and Claire. The night was lit by this gigantic torch one guy borrowed from his dad. It was a warm night. We could see this thing in all its terrible glory. The stage was set. We spun the bottle. It landed on me. "Show us your dong," said one of the girls, as planned. I had nothing to hide, turned away, took it out of my jeans, sack and all, spun around, and everyone went, "Ah, Jesus," and I put it away. Most natural thing in the world. Cliff looked uncomfortable, like maybe he didn't want to play anymore. Claire sat beside him and put her arm around his back. We spun the bottle, sure enough, it landed on Cliff. "Show us your dong." No way. "Show us your dong. Don't be gay," etc., etc. We impressed upon him the binding nature of the dare situation. Nothing left the circle. Were we buds for life or what? Then, Claire made her move. "You'll show me, won't you?" He was dumbstruck as she led him into the cave and told us to keep watch. Big dumb grin on his face. Fumble, fumble, fumble. Time went by. We then hear Claire saying, "Oh, Jesus," over and over again. Cliff and Claire were straight up banging in the cave. This was unheard of. Then Claire let out this unnatural scream. We heard scuffling and pebbles scattering. We turned the torch into the cave mouth. There was Cliff coming at us with a swinging hard-on and his jeans under his arm. It was the longest dong I've ever seen or care to see outside of adult content. Probably 9 inches in all, with this fat head and thin, thin shaft. The shaft was under an inch in diameter, the width of my thumb at the knuckle, and it was kinked like a hockey stick. To our horror, this nightmare womb plunger, this cervical spear, the satanic dipstick, was half covered in blood. Cliff ran the frick away, mind broken. Claire emerged and her friends took her home. We didn't know until the following Monday what had happened. Did she need an ambulance or what? What had the monster done? Cliff wouldn't come to the phone. It turns out that Dipstick's awful dong had somehow triggered her period early for that month by agitating the very depths of her womanhood with its crazy plunger head. She must have been kinda borderline at the time. Cliff instantly became Dipstick, later Dip. The story has a kinda happy ending. 2 girls took on the Dip challenge over the next year. Neither reported enjoying it, but Cliff was pleased with himself. Now, I say this as a straight man, but never have I been more curious as to what a dong looked like. Story 8. A friend of mine back in high school was asked where the weirdest place he had ever pleasured himself was. His answer was a train, which really wasn't too weird, still kind of weird, but he then, for whatever reason, didn't stop there. He told us where he put the, mess afterwards. When the train staff came through, he ate it. Again, he told that last part completely freely. No one asked. Man, you ever say something embarrassing and you try to make it better by explaining more and you make it worse? I feel this guy a lot. Wait, don't take that out of context. I just mean I understand why you said that. Story 9. When I was about 15 years old, my high school soccer team had a co-ed, girls/guys team, spaghetti dinner. That turned into a co-ed sleepover. Maybe about 6 guys and 5 girls. We ended up taking a bottle of really cheap Mr. Boston vodka from this kid's parents, and all of us began drinking much faster than 15-year-olds should. I was beginning to feel pretty nauseous, but I was determined to stay in the game of truth or dare that we had started. I was then dared to kiss the bare butt cheek of one of the more crude chicks on the girls' team. As I pressed my lips to her cheek, she thought that it would be hilarious to grab the back of my head and fart right in my face. The heat and smell were too much for my stomach to bear, and as I pulled away, I barfed all over her back and butt. This is a classic you reap what you sow moment. She played with fire and she got burned. OP, that's not on you. Story 10. Was playing Truth or Dare with a few friends, my best friend and my best friend's wife. When they were married, they were both virgins by choice from a traditional household. We're having fun and it comes to my turn. I ask my best friend's wife, truth or dare. She answers, truth. My friend and I would always joke about our SOs despising butt stuff and being disgusted by it. So I asked as a joke, have you ever done butt stuff? Yes, she answers. Her husband turns bright red and says, no we haven't. The two leave shortly after. Turns out, she was a traditional virgin but had lost her, butt virginity back in high school. We didn't really talk after that. Oh, I thought it was just embarrassing for the dude. Not that someone else had done it to— Oh no! As someone who waited for marriage, this must have been devastating. Oh no. This poor man. I'm surprised that she never mentioned that before. It seems like something you would tell your partner, but I guess it would never come up. Like, how do you bring it up? You wouldn't bring it up randomly. That's so weird. Story 11. It's not that bad comparatively, but it was still unpleasant. In 4th grade, we played Truth or Dare at my birthday party. It was all dudes, which made it kinda weird. One friend dared another friend to get nude, which was really weird. So my pal begins a striptease and we all beg him to stop. He got down to his stained briefs, dude did not let that dong drain all the way, and was just beginning to lower them when we heard a scream. My 7-year-old sister had just walked into the room to see a scrawny, self-proclaimed, street-rapping gangster meteorologist bursting out his hog. He dove into his sleeping bag and didn't talk to anyone for the rest of the night. We decided video games were a lot more fun and immediately ended the game. My friend denied anything ever happened the next day. Edit. Clarification on the street-rapping gangster/meteorologist bit. This dude was obsessed with weather in elementary school, all he ever talked about. He was a white kid who moved to our very white city from a very diverse, low-income city. So he talked like a thug while going on about cold fronts. He did end up becoming a meteorologist though, so hey, good for him. Meteorology seems like one of those fields where it's like, if you have an interest in it as a child, that's probably what you're gonna do. It's so specific that it's like, that kind of interest doesn't just go away or get pushed to the background. It's not like acting where you do it casually aside a real career, right? By the way, the whole real career thing, don't get mad, I'm an actor. But really, if you're like a kid really into weather, you're gonna go into something to do with weather. It's just true. Story 12. You probably won't believe me, but here it is anyway. Friend 1. Never have I ever unalived someone. Friend 2 goes stone-faced. Friend 2, shouldn't you drink? Screw you. She chugged her drink and walked off. That's how I found out about that story. It was self-defense. Her best friend was assaulted and unalived right in front of her eyes. She got his gun from him and shot him. Cops came busting in. Someone had called in due to the screaming. She was freaked out because she was 15 and had just unalived a man, and thinking the cop was another attacker, accidentally shoots him too. I knew she had done some unspeakable stuff, and that she was on a very, very long probation for it, but whew, heavy stuff. Story 13. Oh god, I had a friend who basically aspired to join the cast of Jackass. He would literally do any dare. Our friends were actually pretty irresponsible with his total lack of self-preservation. It got way out of hand sometimes. He was like a volunteer human guinea pig for every crazy idea. He was fearless. We called him Super Pat. Some examples in ascending order of creativity and stupidity. He let me film him getting kicked in the balls by someone who had a running start. Also, he was the first in line to be tased, first on the arm and then again on his balls. He took a paintball pellet to his bare butt at point-blank range. He took shots of hot sauce. He duct-taped a gigantic firework canister to his butt and set it off. He jumped off a second-story balcony onto a hammock over concrete, breaking his femur, thus earning the name Bionic Super Pat. He told us to tie him to a chair and not let him go until he finished an 18-pack of beer by himself. Getting to 13 before we made him stop out of fear he would rupture his bladder. You could literally see how distended it was through his clothes. He ate his roommate's goldfish, immortally uttering the phrase, "Frank is inside me," which led to the worst, or best, depending on your perspective, idea, when he decided to prank the employee of our local pet store. I wasn't there for this one, but apparently he purchased a couple dozen small feeder fish, took them outside, and proceeded to swallow them all whole with a vodka chaser, then went back into the store and said, "Ma'am, there's something wrong with your feeder fish," and spectacularly puked them up all over the counter. Pat was insane. Story 14. This wasn't really truth or dare, I guess, just truth. There were 5 of us, and for the past year at school, we'd hung out a lot. It kinda became a thing for 5 of us to go down to a place in town and smoke a few joints. One time, whilst skinning up, one of us asked, "What's the one thing you've never told anyone?" It went round the circle, but I honestly cannot remember what any of us said apart from our friend Dave, not real name, who hit us with, "I once banged my sister." After having sat there in stunned silence for a while, my to this day best friend Andy said, "You will never speak of this again." And in silence, we walked back to school wondering what the hell our incestuous friend hadn't told us. For what it's worth, his sister was frickin' hot. Look, I don't care how attractive your sister is. Maybe, I don't know, don't. Or if you do somehow find yourself in this situation, don't tell people. Like, I don't know how Dave thought this was gonna go, but I guarantee you in his head it went a lot better. Like, people would laugh and be like, "Yo, dude, how?" Nope, absolutely not. He said that and everyone just shut the hell up. And Dave realized then he made a big mistake. Props to Andy for being like, "You will never speak of this again," though. Gotta keep Dave on the right path. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these truth or dare stories. I'm so glad none of them were as gross as the first one. So if you made it this far, proud of you. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one.